Okay, for Yah righteousness, Jerusalem, and the Holy See. Peace, everybody. Yah bless. This is April the 9th, 2022. This is the Q&A to the session. I hope everybody, our national, international audience, is in the greatest health possible. Hope all of you are focused. Hope you were focused in on the session. Again, it will replay next Sabbath. Next Sabbath, we'll go straight from the recognition of the Passover Feast of Unleavened Bread, which will be on the 15th, right? And we'll go into the Sabbath day, next week on the 16th. So, hope all of you are prepared. We'll get the leavening out the house, get you a piece of lamb, get you some bitter herbs and some unleavened bread ready to acknowledge the Sabbath the Feast of Unleavened Bread Passover on the the night of the 15th. And again, that first day, the 15th day, no server work, right? You can go out later on during the daytime between the daytime before the seventh day Sabbath. You can go out if you want to. We know our forefathers left out that night, right? But again, you can go out, but it's no server work, okay? Again, on the session, I mentioned the Confessions of Economic Hitman. I couldn't remember his name. John Perkins wrote the Confessions of Economic Hitman. And I mentioned Victoria Nuland let the cat out the bag about the biolabs in the Ukraine. I couldn't remember. I knew she was a neocon, but she's with PNAC, Project for a New American Century. PNAC, right? They started it here in Chicago, University of Chicago, years ago. I've talked about it in the past. Those of you who've been plugged in Yah Righteousness through the years, you know that. Those of you who've gone through the website meticulously, you've heard that. Also, I saw it wasn't Othniel that brought up about the Caleb over there in the First Chronicles chapter 2. That was El-Ear. And again, it wasn't about the, I saw what you put up, El-Ear. It wasn't about you wasn't considering he was the Caleb of Yefunah back there with YHWH. Basically, you brought it up, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because he had, what was it, 2 or 3 wives, something like that. But again, also in that Second Chronicles, I meant to mention too that they got a few Calebs. I said that one of the Calebs is called Kalube in chapter 2 verse 9, right? One of the sons of Hezron, the brother to Jeremiel. You'll see that he's called Caleb. If you got a Bible with a concordance, they'll tell you, like they do in mine, that it's Kalube in verse 9 is really Caleb. You'll see that over in verse 42 in chapter 2. But also what I meant to mention too is that, to show you how they've got some stuff in here, that, you read and sometimes you get consumed, then you run right over it. You don't necessarily pick up on certain things when you read. But in chapter 2, First Chronicles, when you get to verse 35, you read about Yarha, right? He was an Egyptian. You see that in verse 34, and that picks up his line, verse 36, 7, 8, 9, 40. These are the descendants, all the way through 41, 41st verse. These are descendants of an Egyptian. See, so it's not of descendants of Yahudah, right? So you got to look for things like that. I tell you, the book has been attacked, and the more you scrutinize it, the more things you see. And as time goes by, Yah illuminates more and more, right? Again, Yah doesn't change, but we have to. Right? We have to get in harmony with Yah's laws, statutes, ordinances, judgments, commandments, and precepts. And once we change to that, and that's what this is all about, right? as I read in the session, and I'm sure many of you, if not all of you, have seen this in the past. Chapter 41, Yeshaya, right? Yah's making us into his new sharp threshing instruments having teeth. Okay? And also, again, where Yah is the strong one, I talked about that in Yeshaya chapter 28, verse 2. Again, when you look at 49:19 and 50:44, Yaremya, right? What does it say? Talking about the Edomites. They came from the swelling of Jordan, and like a lion, they came up what? To the habitation of the strong. Isn't that what it says? Well, who was the strong? That's Yah, isn't it? That's his habitation, right? They came up to the habitation of the strong. You follow me? Like I said, it's in a plethora of places. If you got a Strong's or Good Bible Dictionary, possibly, that shows you every place where strength is, from Genesis through Malachi, strong, the word strong. You just go down and you'll see all the different places where it's in reference to he who creates, Yah of hosts, right? He's the strong. And, I hope all of you grab that, what I touched on it through the session and ended with, in the session about the brother who, he's been saying to me about the last, like I said, about the last three and a half months or so. When are we leaving, you? When we leaving? He's ready to leave, but he revealed here the other Sabbath that when we were talking, and then he said he had to go because he had to take his son somewhere. And like I said, when he called back the next time, I brought it to him, and he said, well, YHWH, that's what we have had these, he called it vehement conversations in the past. And like I said, he was on the vehement side, not me. But, he disagreed with to doing the Sabbath. But like I said, he told me he was doing the Sabbath for 10 years, and then he stopped. Like I said, he didn't say why. I didn't ask him. But he also intimated when I, brought him, we got to do the Sabbath, and then he says, well, I'm like doing all right. I'm doing well. I'm like, okay, you follow me? But by the same token, we still got to be in harmony with Yah. Now, I'm sure he was intimating to me that he was doing well, which underscores that he must be doing right. But, just like I heard it, Yah heard it. So we'll see, because again, if you're not in harmony with Yah, and again, that's Ezekiel 20, verse 38. If you're a rebel or a transgressor, which means you're not doing all of the law, Deuteronomy 30, verse 2, which you'll see, ALL, all of the law, with all your heart and soul, you're a rebel and a transgressor. Like I pointed out to him, those priests that had been brought back from the land of the Medes back into Samaria, into Israel, to teach those people who had been brought from the land of the Medes down there, who were worshiping their idols, but fearing Yah, right? They taught them the law of Yah, even though they still, feared Yah and worshiped their idols, like many people today, right? They fear the Creator, even though they don't truly understand who the Creator is. But they do have a sense that there is a Creator, right? That's generally why they go into these religions. Maybe not all of them. I can't say for Scientology. I don't know what they're about in that per se. As a brother called last night from the West Coast, I'm not sure, but I think that's the first time we've talked. We talked a long time. We didn't get off the phone until after 2 o'clock this morning. He called around something to 8 last night. Esau cut us off a couple of times, but he called back. We talked, had an excellent conversation. He told me about some brothers that's in the south of the land, down there in the southern part of the Negev, not far from the Reed Sea, from what he told me. He said they even set up something around Telerod or whatever they call it at Jerusalem. He told me some things, and I said to him, yeah, well, they're doing their own thing. They got ahead of Yah. So, and we talked, he told me, about that. But we talked about some different things, and you know, discussed some things, counseled on some things. But again, he told me gas out there, you know, because he says he lives around San Bernardino, and he said that the gas out there is $6 to $7 a gallon. And he also told me when he first went out there in '88, because he's 57, he said when he first went out there in '88, a one-bedroom apartment was $425, $50 a month. He said now a one-bedroom apartment out there is over $2,000 a month. And he said that, you know, you could possibly get something, a one-bedroom apartment for maybe around, you know, a $1,200. He said, and when he started telling me, his voice kind of trailed off. I said, yeah, but it's probably filled with roaches and mice. He said, yeah, he said it's going to be in an area where they got drugs, and a lot of, you know, a lot of nonsense going on. And I said, right. I said, so, you know, to have something decent, you know what I'm saying, then you've got to, you know, pay over $2,000 for a one-bedroom apartment, okay? And that's where it's going. That's where it is, and it's going to even get worse. And like I said in the session, you've got these, you know, realtor conglomerates like Blackstone and BlackRock. Again, Blackstone owned by that Schwartzman, Skull and Bone boy. Talk about him in that Home Records by Aaron Glantz. You know, and you got different other realtors that are basically owned, I know, by Edomites per se, you know, conglomerates, buying up all of the housing and then charging, you know, humongous amounts of rent to rent these places. And it's getting to, yesterday we listened to Peter Schiff. He was on Gerald Salente. And again, if you know about Peter Schiff and you've been listening to him over a period of time, he was running it down. He said, you know, he's been saying this for a long time. These rents and mortgages. He said basically mortgages is, you know, houses are not going to be selling because people just not going to be able to afford them. Okay, because they're not going to be able to. First of all, the banks are not going to give them mortgages, you know, as this interest rate goes up, right? But he also talked about with the interest rate going up, as I cited in the session, he mentioned how, you know, the interest rate going up, the bond market's collapsing, it's going to pull down, you know, the stock market's going to collapse, these pension funds and all that's going to collapse, right? Social Security is probably more likely going to take a major hit, you know, to whatever degree. That's where we're headed. That's where all this is headed. And so, you know, the economic chokehold is getting tighter around the neck of the people of the earth. I mean, it's just like that Freedom Convoy up there in Canada. You know, they attack those people's bank accounts. Even if you donated some money to the Freedom Convoy, they attack those people's bank accounts. They froze them. Okay, and from what we was listening to Salente here about, I think early part of the week, and he was talking to somebody, I can't remember now. We listened to so much. They said that those people's bank accounts are still frozen. Okay, so whatever money that those who participated in the Freedom Convoy in Canada or those who donated to the Freedom Convoy in Canada, they froze their bank accounts. They can't access their funds. Okay, the brother that I was talking to last night, he mentioned that came up in our conversation, and he said he didn't know what happened to the Freedom Convoy that was supposed to be going to DC. And I told him, I said, yeah, the last I heard, you know, the day that they were supposed to come or get there was like a Tuesday. Biden was supposed to give a speech, but they didn't get there that Tuesday. Then I heard like a couple of days later that they were supposed to get there like that Thursday, I think, for the weekend. And then I didn't hear anything more about it. And that's what he said too. He said, yeah, he said, I haven't heard anything more about it. And I'm like, yeah, I said, who knows? You know, they might have just gave him a total media blackout, or possibly maybe the Freedom Convoy, you know, dissolved because they heard what they did to those people up there in Canada, froze their bank accounts, and maybe they just left off. I don't know. I don't know if any of you out there have heard. If you have, put something up on the screen and let us know, because we haven't heard anything more about it. So again, we know that they are attacking the media outlets. They, as I said in the session, they do not want the people, the masses of people, to see or hear the alternative view, the opposite view, the other view. Right? It's straight propaganda, 24/7, bombarding. That's why, again, with the Democracy Now! Shows, I only had like 3 shows I suggested that you watch, because every day Democracy Now! Comes on, it's all about the Ukraine. It's all a bunch of propaganda, just like on the major news shows. I mean, it's propaganda, 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 propaganda. You only get one side, and it's lies and deception. Here, I didn't mention this in the session, but here about 2 weeks ago, Yada, and myself, we were looking at the internet, RT International. They showed how over here in the West, they showed a picture that they claimed was the Ukraine, right? And that the Russian soldiers had killed some people or whatever. They claimed it was in the Ukraine, but you know, on RT International, they brought out that that was a picture that was from over in the land. There was some Edomites, all right, who had just like killed some Palestinians. What they claiming that was the Ukraine. See, okay. Yada reminded me. And I know many of you remember this. It was that blonde-haired Palestinian young girl who confronted the Edomite soldier a few years ago when they had attacked her brother, and she confronted them. And you remember her father said that the only reason why the Edomite soldiers didn't do anything to her because she was blonde-haired. She looked like she was Caucasian, you know, looked like she was European. I know some of you remember that. Yeah, but that's what they showed and claimed. That's what was, you know, that happened over in the Ukraine. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, just lies and deception, a constant barrage of lies and deception, misinformation. And that's why they've you know, shut down RT America, and have taken people like Chris Hedges and Matt Tiabi and Glenn Greenwald and, you know, others shut them down off of YouTube and various other outlets that they've got control over. I mean, that's why they're doing what they're doing to Julian Assange, right? Because of what he revealed. What was that, about 7 years ago? 7, 8 years ago, talked about Hillary Clinton and you know, he let it all out on WikiLeaks and how they just murdered, you know, what they showed on Democracy Now! Back then, when Democracy Now! Was better then than it is now, right? They showed where the American helicopter just killed these people over in, what was that, Afghanistan? I think it was somewhere over there, or Iraq. They shot them down. I mean, literally, these were civilians. And these are the type of things that Julian Assange has released. That's why they hate him so much. That's why they've, you know, incarcerated him. Basically, you could say over the last 7, 8 years, they had him locked down in the what was that? The embassy. I forget the country. Was that No, the embassy that he was in. I can't remember the embassy now that he was in. It was South American embassy. but he was stuck up in there for about 6 years, right? Now he's been incarcerated over in the UK for about the last 2 years. It might have been, yeah, it might have been the Ecuadorian embassy. But they hate Julian Assange, and they're basically torturing him like they do the detainees that they've got in Guantanamo Bay, right? Guantanamo. I mean, this is America, okay? You know, I'm looking at this situation, you know, is it the Illuminati bankers fracturing, or is it the Illuminati bankers now setting about destroying their monster that they created? You know, America, the daughter of Babylon. And it really looks like the latter, right? Again, they're causing war, as they do when, you know, they start getting challenged any kind of way. And when they want to create an economic collapse to a great degree, you know, certain things, when economic collapse starts to set in some kind of way, or they cause it to bring people into impoverishment, right? Which is what's happening on a large scale across the earth now. People are being brought into impoverishment. They're freezing bank accounts if you rise up against them. They're not giving you a job from the industries that they control, right? If you rise up against them. And again, what industries they don't own, they control by permits, right? And lockdowns, right? As they say, you know, they're with the pandemic, if you haven't taken the shot, you can't open up your business. If you have people that haven't taken the shot, or don't have a vaccine card, or not wearing a mask, you can't open up. You know what I'm saying? And so many businesses have gone out of business the last 2 years, right? And more to come. And you have many people who are out of work, just like with Germany, right? They wanted Germany to go in with these sanctions on Russia. And the Germans is like, hey, we got to keep getting oil and gas right now from the Russians, because if not, people going to freeze over here. Not only that, you know, to go in with these sanctions, the Germans said it'll be 100 to 200,000 jobs lost in Germany. Huh? So now that's, again, impoverishment, right? And again, all of these things have a domino effect. Right near the end of the session, Yada and me, we were talking, and I mentioned about the movie V for Vendetta. I know some of you saw that movie, right? They never show it now, right? Because you see some of these protesters over there in Europe, and possibly here too, they wear the V for Vendetta mask, okay, when they're protesting. But if you saw that movie V for Vendetta, you remember at the end how they showed all the dominoes they had lined up that created the V, and like the V was encircled. You know, they had it in a way where they knocked over one domino, and it started a domino effect where all the dominoes started to fall, right, and turned up a certain way where you could see the V, right, for Vendetta. But again, when they do these things, you know, sanctions or whatnot, embargoes, so on and so forth, when they attack people's bank accounts, when they freeze them, when they withhold, you know, through sanctions, like Venezuela's over 400 tons of gold, you know, like Iran's $7 billion they've got froze, won't give it to them. When they do these things have a domino effect. It's the same thing with the sanctions now, you know, with the oil and the gas, right? A domino effect. It starts out, right, and you see initially, but you haven't felt the full brunt of, you know, the effect yet. It takes a while to feel the full brunt of the, you know, of sanctions and freezes and, you know, confiscations and, you know, shutdowns and things of that nature. So it's ongoing, and it's again, it's going to get exponentially worse because the dollar is imploding, and the system, this fiat system, is imploding. Okay, we've been talking about it for years. Now it's here. Okay, it's here, and you know, that's why Yah has told us, right, that those of us who are totally committed and submitted to Him, right? What does He say? I'm going to hold thee by thine hand, right? And He's going to feed us. He's going to, you know, provide us with food, with water, right? Clothing, housing. He's going to take care of us if we're totally committed and submitted. See? So now you possibly have some who are not totally submitted and committed, but now they got to make a decision. Are they going to be like the brother I just talked about? Because like I said at the end of the conversation, he intimated to me, though he has not been doing the Sabbath, right, and evidently not acknowledging Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread, he's doing okay. Well, again, you know, let's see if that continues. And again, the top and bottom line is he's expressed to me the last few months, he wants to go back with Yah. Okay? He wants to come up out of here. As I just said in the session, a little earlier in the session, right? Kevin Barrett out of Wisconsin, when we saw this, you know, interview he did with the Russian that used to live here, evidently in Wisconsin. His name was something Orley or Orley something. I can't remember his you know, his full name. Like I said, he looked like he was possibly around 50 years old, give or take. And he had like a salt and pepper beard, hair. But as him and Kevin Barrett were talking, Kevin Barrett asked him, he said, are you still telling people they need to leave America? He said, no, I stopped doing that. He said, because when, you know, I used to tell people they need to get out of America, he said, they look at me like I'm crazy, you know, laugh it off. He said, so I stopped. He said, but you see, I left. He went back to Russia. Okay? That's where he is. So Kevin Barrett, he said, yeah. He said, well, you know what? He said, I'm thinking about leaving here now. He said, I'm like, he's seriously entertaining leaving America because he sees what's on the horizon. He sees what's happening and he sees what's to come. Okay? I mean, just like Peter Schiff, he's over in Puerto Rico. So I know many of you heard what happened in Puerto Rico. You know, they had a electric failure. And as of the other day, it's still thousands of people still don't have any electric turned on yet. And that's where Peter Schiff is. Okay? So, you know, it's bad. And it's supposed to be, right? Those of us who know the word of Yah, again, what did Yah say? He's going to make his judgment rest for a light to the people, right? So that's the similar, like with a child, when you raise a child, right? Every now and then you've got to put judgment on that child's behind to allow the light to come into the heart of that child to drive that foolishness, that darkness that a child entertains in his heart out. And that's what Yah is doing now, right? And again, Yah and Yah alone is salvation, right? Yeshua chapter 43, he alone is salvation. It is in other places, right? There is no other creator but Yah of hosts, he who creates, right? Yah our righteousness. So the people now are running, running around all across the earth. Many people are afraid. That's why they get the guns. They get the gun card so that they can carry a gun, right? Many people are scared. They don't want to come out and shop because they're scared they're going to get the virus, right? You got plenty of people afraid. That's how Esau, again, wants to keep you. For those of you who heard what Yada was playing, she started playing it last night, finished it up this morning before the session. That was the May 2020 session, right? And y'all finished with the Q&A this morning. For those of you who remember it, or those of you who heard it this morning, you know, I talked about again how, you know, Novo Ordo Chaos, right? New World Order by Chaos. And how, you know, they deal with the people like the mouse in the maze, who's been, you know, stimulated with different stimuli, right? And when they stimulate the mouse in the maze with a certain kind of stimuli, the mouse acts a certain way. But when they want the mouse to totally shut down, go catatonic, they set off all of the stimuli at one time. The bell, the buzzer, the gongs, the drums, the, you know what I mean, the electric shock or what have you, and the mouse doesn't know what to do, so it just goes catatonic. It just totally shuts down. Well, that's what they're doing to the people of the world right now. Okay? And you've got many people who go catatonic. Okay? We got a drug den catacornered to our house. I mean, they come and get the drug 24/7, all night, all day. And I can tell by the clientele is heroin, or what they sell it is heroin. They fentanyl, or they got another thing out here. So you know what I'm saying? So they just go catatonic. Just let me get high. That's why they brought the reefer. You know, the marijuana, made the marijuana legal in many states, right? Just go on and smoke your brains out. Just get high, okay? Okay, you understand? So that you be in a catatonic state. You follow? They sell them all the booze that they want, right? And this is why you've got people, you know, on the edge. You know, the least little thing. That's when you see that thing that happened in Sacramento, right? The least little thing, they go out and they you know, smoking marijuana, or they snorting cocaine, or they drinking alcohol, and then the least little thing, because of the pressure that's already on them, they go off, they blow up, right? And then you get shootings and fights and stabbings and all kind of nonsense, right? And that's where the illuminated Edomite wants the people to be, so that they can't think straight. You follow me? Like I said in that session of May 2020, right? You know, now people, you know, like the brother last night, he called. I think that he's the first time caller, but again, he'd been listening to y'all righteousness. He might be listening now. He's probably listening now. But I think that's the first time we've talked. If it's not, I don't think we've talked no more than maybe once or twice. But we had, like I said, a nice conversation. But again, right, he wanted to go over some things and discuss some things and tell me some things, like I said, about these brothers in the Negev, down in the southern part of the Negev, over in the land, or right near the land, might be in the Egyptian buffer zone. I don't know who's setting up whatever they setting up, you know, which is, you know, null and nil in actuality. You know, they've got ahead of y'all, like many have, like we discussed last night, you know, like the Sodom and her daughter movement, you know, Ben-Ami, the Mona movement, they got ahead of y'all. But as y'all says, you know, in the 48th chapter, Yeshaya, verse 9, he would refrain for them that they wouldn't get cut off. That's why, again, they're still there. That 140 something brothers and sisters the Edomites wanted to kick out, they still there as far as we know, right? They haven't been able to kick them out because Yah said he's going to refrain for them that they would not get cut off, right? But now you got other brothers and sisters over there who's running around, more likely than not. As I said in the past, their visas are up. And so now they got to go down there around Egypt. You know, some of them have gone to Egypt, which again, you understand, we're never supposed to return to Egypt, right? You understand what I mean? In that 2020 session in May, I read that, right? Over there in, I think that's in the 33rd chapter of Deuteronomy, right? We're never supposed to return to Egypt, right? You know, but again, you know, you've got brothers and sisters who got ahead of y'all, right? They're not in harmony with Yah. You follow what I'm saying? But at the same time, they don't know what to do, right? Because again, they're not going by this guideline because for some reason they don't understand it. And more likely than not, that reason is they're in idolatry, right? Some shape, form, or fashion. You know, and so then, you know, you get brothers and sisters who they become hostile to whatever degree. But as I said in that May 2020 session, you know, when the pandemic began back there in March of 2020, as I said before in 2020, you know, and since you know, we've had people that have called here that I haven't ever talked to before. We've had people who have called here that I hadn't talked to in 3, 4, 5 years, you know, and they started calling. Why? Because when the chokehold got tighter from the sword that Yah has brought on the inhabitants of the earth to drive them mad, right? Which again is Yeremia chapter 25. Now they're in despair. Now they don't know what to do. So they like, let me call Yah righteousness and talk to Yah righteousness, see what's going on. You know, can I, you know, get some information that's going to aid and abet me? Because some have told me what, you know, alternative ways that they plan to try to make a living because the initial job they had got shut down, or they couldn't work that job because they refused to take the shot, right? And so, you know, as I said in that May 2020 session, you tell the people, you know what I mean? Well, you got to go, you got to read. You got to get into this book. You got to read, you got to study, you got to pray to Yah. You got to do. And you get different ones, they're in such despair, right? When you tell them they got to read, they said, man, you know, I ain't got no time to read. I'm in trouble. I'm in trouble. You follow what I'm saying? And again, that's the Novo Ordo Chaos, New World Order by chaos. Put the people in a chaotic state where they can't think straight. It's a brother I've been talking to. I haven't talked to him now. It's getting close to 2 months because the way it looks to me, he's reverted back to playing checkers. As I said in this session, right? You can't be playing checkers when you deal with this book. You got to be playing chess because you got to look at this book from every angle possible. As I said the last session, right? Why is it a problem to discuss this book? You know, you get some people, they're so you know, like ensconced, if you will, stuck in a certain mindset that even if you bring something to them, you know, that's not in harmony with how their mind, you know, has you know, fixated on a certain thing, they don't even want to discuss it. You know, like a man having, you know, more than 2 wives, right? Again, like I said, we see in the book, you know, it's a law for 2 wives, but we don't see a law for 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 wives. And again, as you can see in the book, as we pointed out, right, the last session, this session, we see what has happened to, like David, for instance, who Yah cared about greatly, right? I mean, as I said in this session, David never left Yah, right? Except in one instance per se. And that was in the situation with Uri the Hittite, when he put himself before Yah, which is idolatry. And we see what happened because of it. And it was all about his lust, his desire for this woman, Bathsheba. And then we see in the 31st proverb what Bathsheba said to their son, Lemuel, Solomon, Yedidiah, the beloved of Yah, right? And what did she say? Don't give your ways to that which destroys governors. And you can even say which destroys men, right? Because if these ways will destroy the governor, it's going to destroy other men as well, who partake, as we see in Hosea 4th chapter, right? Whoredoms and wine and new wine take away the heart. Okay, so, you know, we should be able to have a sensible discussion, right? But I've come across some who can't even have a sensible discussion. They so adamantly fixated on a man being able to have multiple wives, beyond 2. But again, it can't be refuted when we look at our progenitors, as we pointed out, right? Basically, they just had 1 at a time, right? Isaac, 1 wife, and he excelled greatly to the point where he excelled so much, at one point, he got off center. Isn't that right? Like Yosha said, and I've mentioned it in the past, more than likely he was eating the fat with the meat. That's why he had, you know, his eyes got dim. More than likely he had diabetic blindness. But more likely, without a doubt, after the situation with the blessing of Jacob and Esau, right? And they were 77 years old. Esau was 100 and 36? 77 and 60. No, 137. He was 137 years old, right? That's why he said, I don't know the day of my death, so let me bless you. That's what he said to Esau, right? But he couldn't hardly see, because he been evidently eating this fat with the meat, which we know is against the law. We're not supposed to eat the fat or the blood, right? But now after this situation happened, as I said in the past, you know, more likely than not, he said something to Rebecca, and then, you know, she came down and read it. You know, like Elihu read Job. Eventually, like Yah read Job in the book of Job, right? You follow me? And quite naturally, Rebecca, she got ahead of Yah. You understand what I mean? So she gonna try to justify what she did, but she got ahead of Yah too, right? And again, when you look at Yeshua chapter 3, what does it say about the men of Israel? Children are your oppressors, and women rule over you. And that's what happened to Jacob in regards with his mother when she told him to go deceive his father. Not realizing, not thinking. I mean, he knew it was wrong. He said that, right? But he submitted to her will and did that. And then he set himself up for recompense, which he got 7 years later. Then he got off center even more, right? By taking 2 sibling sisters to wife, which they were a vexation to each other. That's why that's against the law, right? And he refused to acknowledge his wrong for so many years, right? And that's what causes the acrimony between those you know, amongst those sons that he had, you know, like Simeon and Lewi, and then the sons by the other wives, Bilhah and Zilpah, because they're in confrontation, they're in competitiveness. Right? So again, you know, we gotta look at all these things truthfully, don't we? Isn't that right? See, because again, right, Yah doesn't change, but we have to. We have to acclimate to the law again with all our heart and all our soul. That's the, you know, required. There's no equivocation there. Isn't that right? So, you know, when people say to me that they don't have to do the Passover, you can't do the Passover, recognize the Passover, you can't do the Sabbath, you know, in captivity, that's a bunch of nonsense. You follow me? And as I said before, you know, those of us who are about Yah, and even those of us who are not committed with all our heart and soul, even right now, who are listening to this right now, wherever they are, again, but I would think in their heart, they want to leave up out of here, because it's not going to get any better here, you know, and not only here, in other places too, of the earth. See, you see, because Yah is salvation, right? So when this brother intimated to me, well, you know, even though I've been, you know, in other words, I've been doing the Sabbath these years, I'm still doing okay. But again, Yah is salvation. Because like I said, he been saying to me about the last 3 months, when we leaving? when we leaving? When you think we leaving? See, and I'm not getting into the guessing game, right? I'm just like, I'm waiting on Yah. As I told him, we know that the Edomites in the land, right, have to be run out and judged before Yah returns to the land of Israel, Yisrael, right? On the head of his movement. Yeshaya chapter 52, Yeshaya chapter 33. We're not going to see a people of a deeper speech, a stammering tongue than we can perceive or understand. A people of a fierce countenance, right? Where is he that counted the towers? The towers in that wall that they built, started building in 2003. That's, I guess it's completed now. About 400 and some miles long, zigzagging in and around the West Bank through Jerusalem and beyond, right? So the Edomites got to be run out, right? We know this. So, you know, we're supposed to be getting ourselves in harmony with Yah, right? In harmony with the law. And you're going to have a lot of people who are going to be totally disappointed, right, when the Jerusalem movement is acknowledged and submitted to by these kings and queens and princes of the earth, the power monarchies. As I said to the brother last night, I'm not talking about, you know, these kings and queens over, you know, in what's called Africa, Eden. You know, they don't have no power. I'm talking about these power monarchies, you know, that have been aligned with the illuminated Edomite, that Yah would not allow the illuminated Edomite to get rid of, like was their desire in the protocols, you know, because they understood the monarchies was the last line of defense between them and the sheep, which is the people, right? So Yah wouldn't allow them to get rid of them. They've intermingled with these different monarchies to whatever degree, right? Just like what we see with the original Esau, right? When he didn't get the blessing, he married in to the Canaanite royalty, right? You understand what I'm saying? And so he gonna claim the land through marriage, you know, married into the Canaanite royalty. Just like he's, you know, mingled in with these other monarchies, just like what we see with Hadad, right? When David sent Joab and the army of Israel in on the Edomites to bring them under submission, they took Hadad down as a little child, took him down in Egypt. He grew up in Egypt, and what did he do? He ended up marrying the sister-in-law of Pharaoh. See, that's how the Edomites, they marry into these, you know, these monarchical lines if they can. You follow what I'm saying? Just like the old boy just died, Philip, right? Prince Philip, right? Elizabeth's husband, 99-year-old, he just died. He wanted to come back as a virus, right? But his mother was an Edomite, more than likely maybe his father too, out of the Greek line, right? So this is how Esau tries to lay claim, you follow me, to the land of Israel. He married in, you know, this is, I married into the land. You understand what I'm saying? Just like they do a lot. In other words, just like this Edomite family here in Chicago that owns the Chicago Bears, called the McCaskies. They married into it and took it over. Okay? That's how Esau operates. Just like John Kerry, the Skull and Bone boy. I know many of y'all know who I'm talking about. His protege, that's a representative, you know, like I said, her name is Massey. She's part of the squad. She's supposedly got alopecia too. All her hair fell out. Okay? Right? Again, Yeshaya chapter 3. Right? You know, he's her sponsor. You understand what I'm saying? Because she worked on his staff for years. Right? And John Kerry, what did he do? He married into the Heinz ketchup family. He married the wife of the original Heinz. You know, the original Heinz, he blew up in an airplane. You know, I talked about that some years ago. He blew up in an airplane, right? And then John Kerry married the wife, and now he's connected to the Heinz fortune. You follow what I'm saying? That's how these illuminated Edomites operate. And again, John Kerry is Skull and Bones, but he's an Edomite too. right? So, you know, this is the machinations of the Illuminati Edomite. Now, I saw earlier somebody put up where I'm always talking about the Edomites. Well, again, this is, you know, when it says that Jerusalem is to break its clods, right? Was that over in Zechariah? You know, Jerusalem is supposed to plow the ground, right? And you know, remove the stumbling blocks. Yeshaya chapter 57. Well, one of the you know, one again, you know, the main stumbling block is Israel not in harmony with the laws, statutes, ordinances, judgments, commandments, and precepts of Yah. But right behind that is to understand who our main adversary is as a people and as servants to Yah, and that's the illuminated Edomites. Yeah, you understand what I'm saying? That's our adversary. That's who we were wrestling with, huh? Our forefather was wrestling with, our progenitor was wrestling with, one of our progenitors, you know, in the womb of our, you know, our mother, way back. You know, great grandmother, you know what I'm saying? Isn't that right? So we have to know about these Edomites, because again, as I said in the past, most of the people like Jerusalem, and I talked about that a few months back, matter of fact, last year, Jerusalem is the first elitist that I've ever heard say, yeah, it's, you know, he knows it's the bankers, right? He said the bankers are controlling everything, right? And that's true. But he also said they call themselves Jews, but they're not. They really are the Ashkenaz, right? So he is, you know, swallowed hook, line, and sinker what's been put forth in Kessler's book, The 13th Tribe. Okay? See, he's duped. And Jerusalem, he has said he's into the Prince of Peace. So he doesn't even understand that the Edomites, you know, forefathers, thought up and wrote the New Testament. He doesn't know that. You follow me? So we have to talk about Esau, the Edomites. You understand what I'm saying? They are not only the arch enemy of Yah and the arch enemy, and again, when I say the arch enemy of Yah, Exodus chapter 17, right? The Amalekite, international banking, illuminated Edomites, right? The arch enemy of Yah. They're the arch enemy of Israel. They're the arch enemy of the people of the earth. So that's why I talk about the Edomites like I do. But I also talk about the law, do I not? I've been talking about the law on and off, but at the same time, all of you out there have got to read the law. And you've got to digest and comprehend what you're reading, right? Because again, we've said you got to apply the law to life. Isn't that what we're supposed to be doing? Okay. And YHWH Hadassah, you know, they brought this to me over the last couple of years, and you know, Yah's been working through them to me. And sometimes, you know, in talking to Hadassah becomes very passionate, you know, and last week we were talking, the three of us, and Yaakov was like, Yehudah, he said, you know, we just want you to know we really appreciate you. We know what you got to deal with. And I said, hey, I appreciate the two of you. And then, you know, like Hadassah, sometimes, Yehudah, I don't want you to get upset with me, because sometimes I said, and I'm not. Because sometimes, you know, I need to hear things in a certain way. And I look at Yah, this is coming from Yah. He's just working through them. Just like at times Yah says something to me, and that's Yah coming at me. You know what I'm saying? And some of you out there. But, you know, I do my best to decipher, to discern, and, you know, always to take from whatever conversation that is going to be beneficial to the way of Yah. which means it's going to be beneficial to me and any and everybody that's totally committed and submitted to Yah. You know, just like I said about the brother on the West Coast when he said, you know, Yehudah, we had vehement conversations, and I really didn't remember. Like I told him, the vehement part is on you. I wasn't vehement, you know, because I really didn't remember. It took me a minute, you know, to like kind of remember these conversations, you know, where we disagreed about doing the Sabbath and whatnot, you know. But again, we're supposed to be able to discuss these things, you know, because plenty of people call here. I listen to them. You got many in the room right now. They call. I listen. You know, we counsel. And, you know, sometimes, you know, Yah comes through them, just like I said about Othniel when he mentioned about Yahosef being possibly this happened to Yahosef because he was prideful. And I'm like, okay, you got a good point. That's an excellent point. But more so, he was raising Yahosef so that when Yahosef got to this point where Yah did, through Pharaoh, set him up over Egypt, he would know how to handle it. Right? Just like he's preparing us now. Those of us who are circumcised in the foreskin of our heart to Yah with all our heart and soul, getting in harmony with the law with all our heart and soul, you know, putting perverse lips far from us with all our heart and soul, you know, learning meekness, not weakness, but meekness, humbleness, humility is before honor, you know, giving ourselves to Yah so he can shape and mold us into what we need to be, what we want to be, what he desires us to be. He's the potter, we're the clay. Again, he's prepared us for the time to come, is he not? And so we give ourselves to him for him to do that. So we should be able to discuss and listen, right? You know, and to look at this book from every angle possible. Again, we're playing chess, not checkers. I got one article here that, you know, Chicago Tribune, April the 6th. This is out of the Treasury. Russia can't pay debts in U.S. funds. You hear that? Russia can't pay the debt, you know, that they've got about $117 million. Now, I have seen where they paid it, right? But America's saying they can't pay it in dollars. Okay. All right. Said the Treasury Department will not allow any Russian government debt payments from accounts at U.S. financial institutions to be made in U.S. dollars, restricting one of the strategies President Vladimir Putin is employing to stave off default. I mean, how does it get to the place where America is not accepting their own fiat currency? So they say the Kremlin, because the Russians face their deadline Monday to make another debt payment. The Kremlin must now choose between draining remaining valuable dollar reserves, new revenue coming in, or default, said the official, who spoke on the condition of anonymity because the official wasn't authorized to speak on the record. The Treasury decision comes after the agency previously said sanctions levied on Russia over its invasion of Ukraine still permit Russia to continue to make debt payments. The debt is owed to foreign investors, among others, and comes from government investments to presumably spur economic growth in Russia. Russia is facing skyrocketing inflation, shortages in essential goods, and disrupted trade with the rest of the world as it continues its invasion of Ukraine. Now, we're listening to RT, and then even Peter Schiff said yesterday that the ruble is strengthening. All right? Yeah, it took a hit initially, but now it has come back. It's getting stronger and stronger. So this is propaganda right here too, right? It says, while the ruble has bounced back. Okay, see, check it. But while the ruble has bounced back from the fall it took after the U.S. and European allies moved to bury the Russian economy, Putin has resorted to extreme financial measures to blunt the West's penalties and inflate his currency. His currency, not the Russian, not the Russian currency, right? So the U.S., EU, and United Kingdom have limited the ability of Russia's central bank to draw on more than $600 billion in foreign currency reserves and have frozen its gold reserves. Now, I know Russia don't have all its gold with, you understand, the NATO powers. Now, I know that's not the case, okay? That has left the central bank with few tools to prop up the ruble and prevent it from crumbling in value. That's what they claim. That's what they saying. You follow me? But Russia, China, India, you know, the BRIC nations, Iran, right? I know Venezuela's hooked up with them, right? Brazil? I don't know how much Brazil is now. I would think they with them again. And I said India, right? South Africa. They going in a whole nother direction. They setting up a whole nother, you understand, financial situation. More likely with a basket of currencies backed so much by gold. Because you know they had to sit down and they figured what America was going to do, right? You know, cause and effect. You know, they sat down, strategy, because we were listening to Scott Ritter, you know, who America basically, you know, kicked to the curb when he came out, you know, back there 25, 27 years ago and said Iraq, a matter of fact, 20 years ago, and said Iraq didn't have any weapons of mass destruction. Okay? And so Scott Ritter, Gerald Celente had him on, Peter Lavelle had him on. We've watched him 2 or 3 times. And, you know, Scott Ritter, he said the Russians, matter of fact, he was on with that Alex and Alexander. Okay? YHWH watches them every day, except the Sabbath. Okay? And they on all day, running down what's going on. Okay? They're on YouTube. Scott Ritter was running it down how the Russians, what they're doing is very, very ingenious and very strategic and professional. Okay? He said how they're dealing with this Ukraine situation. He was on for about an hour and 45 minutes running it down. I listened to a lot of it. Y'all listened to all of it a couple of times maybe. But he was running it down. He like, hey, he said they know exactly what they doing. Okay? And there's some others that are saying the same thing, like Alistair Cook. I said in the session over in the UK, he was running down how the Russians is, hey, they handling this thing very, very wisely. Well, you know that's from Yah, right? But you're not going to get that in the Western controlled media, you know? So, again, those of you who've got internet, those of you, you know, pull up Alex and Alexander on the YouTube. You look at Peter Lavelle. You look at RT International. You'll get the other side, and there's others, you know, that are, you know, bringing out the other side. I mean, I saw something on BBC here the other morning. They interviewed this Russian military guy. He was running there. He said, you know, he said, hey, he said NATO with its stupid sanctions. Okay, he said this is not hurting us. It's hurting the West, and he's right. It is, and again, we haven't seen all of the ramifications yet of it. Okay, so again, as we said in the past, this is where we are. You know, we've been talking about this situation here at YHWH Righteousness a long time. Like you know, in what YHWH played, like I said this morning, last night and this morning, that May 2020, I said it then. You know, the America that you knew before, you know, March 2020, before they brought in the pandemic, it doesn't exist anymore and it never will. Simple as that. So you got still people hoping and praying, you know, like it says in that 51st chapter, Yeremiah, right? We would have healed Babylon. They still trying to heal Babylon, but it can't be healed. And that's what Kevin Barrett alluded to in this conversation with this Orly Russian whose name was Orly, something Orly. And he left it. He gone back to Russia. And Kevin Barrett told him, he said, yeah, he said, I'm thinking about what you used to say. He said, I'm thinking about leaving here now. Okay, because Kevin Barrett's up in Wisconsin. If you look it up, you probably can see it. It's not that old. We saw it here, what, a couple of weeks ago. So if you tap on the Kevin Barrett, bring him up, you can probably see it and listen to it. But Kevin Barrett said, hey, I'm thinking about getting out of here now, because he sees handwriting on the wall. Okay? And America's not going to recover. It's just going to get worse. I mean, you got a crumbling infrastructure here in America. I mean, we see it every day where we are. All right? Streets is crumbling up. I mean, it's pathetic. You know what I'm saying? You know, we know about bridges collapsing and whatnot. America's a mess. And they're not going to spend the money. You know, I've talked about this in the past. They're not going to spend the money that it would take to actually fix America, you know, to shore it up. I mean, they've let it, you know, they've let it crumble over the last 50, 60 years. That's why it's in the shape it's in now, right? I mean, just like I said in the past, you know, they've talked about a high-speed rail before anybody had high-speed rail. They was talking about high-speed rail here. Now you got high-speed rail all in Europe. You got high-speed rail in Japan. You got high-speed rail in China. You got high-speed rail Russia. But they don't have high-speed rail here at all. Now, think about that. Okay? Just think about that. Okay, so anything you want to talk about? Okay. All right, Rivka, you say Ashkenaz Edomites, Nazis. Our land looks like Nazi Germany today. Nothing holy about it. It truly is heartbreaking. Choosing Yah and keeping his honorable law is all we had to do. Yeah, that's all we got to do now. You know, I mean, you know, brother said to me here just earlier this week, he said, it ain't easy, you. Like I said in the session, y'all didn't say it was going to be easy, because, again, we're talking about as we are instructed, right? You know, it says in Jeremiah 10, learn not the way of the heathen, for the customs of the people are vain, worthless, right? Well, we were raised in the ways of the heathen. That's Deuteronomy 28:15 through 67. Now, as we read and study the word of Yah, right, and applying the law to ourselves and everything and everybody else, right, as we get a good grasp of the law, now we can see the ways of the heathen. As we were told when Yah brought our forefathers out of Egypt, he said, you know, we were supposed to leave the ways of Egypt in Egypt, right? And where he was bringing our forefathers into the land of Canaan, he said, and you're not supposed to take on their ways either. I'm bringing you in to get rid of these people, right? Because you understand, they did everything, you know, that was iniquitous and defiled in the sight of Yah, right? So we weren't supposed to, you know, maintain the ways of the Egyptians or take on the ways of the Canaanites. Well, it's similar now, right? We're not supposed to maintain the ways of the daughter of Babylon or any other nation, right? We're supposed to return to the law of Yah, righteousness, the King, and acclimate ourselves. So as we read and study, pray and do, then Yah illuminates us more and more and more and more and more. And when we see things that we're doing that are not in harmony with Yah, we're supposed to kick that to the curb. We're supposed to let whatever it is, whoever it is, go. And again, it's, you know what I mean? Because again, insofar as people, right, as we turn toward Yah with all our heart and soul, you understand, people who see us, who knew what we used to do, the things that they're still doing, they're going to move away from you. And that's 53rd chapter Yeshaya, right? It gets to the place, those of us who are totally committed and submitted, right? who refuse to turn away from Yah, who just get more and more in harmony with Yah, those who know us, right? They're going to start to hide their faces from us, right? Out of sight, out of mind. They don't even want to be around us. You follow me? Because they're still partaking of the ways of the heathen. And they see those of us who are turning to Yah with all our heart and soul, we're letting go of the ways of the heathen. And at times when they ask you, well, why you don't do this anymore? Why you don't do that? Why you don't eat this? Why you don't eat that? And when you tell them, a lot of times they get to the point, you start telling them when they ask you, they don't even let you finish telling them because they like, yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Because the word is fire. And then as time goes by, they just move further and further and further away from you. Simple as that, you know. And some even hope and believe and think that at some point you're going to become lonely and you're going to come back around them and you're going to let this go. And some people do. Some people do, right? I mean, I bore witness to this, you know, and some of you more likely have bore witness to that, right? Some people do return, and you know, like it says in Proverbs, right? What does Solomon write? Like a dog returns unto its vomit, so does a fool return unto his or her folly, right? But those of us who are totally committed and submitted, we have to stay the course. We have to stay focused. How many times have I said that through the years? At the end of sessions, stay focused. Hold on if you can hear me. Esau's messing with it. Is it going? Can you hear me out there? Yeah. Yeah, you can hear me. Right? You can hear me. Esau cut us off for a second. But again, you know, you have to stay focused. And again, you see, as I said, you know, like the mouse in the maze, they set off the gongs and the buzzers and the drums and the bells and the, you know what I mean? The electric shock, they setting off everything trying to discombobulate us, you know, trying to distract us, you know, trying to put us in fear. You follow me? As they're doing many people, right? And we have to stay focused and stay with Yah no matter what, right? And cleave unto Yah with all our heart and soul. And again, how do we do that? Again, the wife of our youth, by cleaving to the law with all our heart and soul, right? And then cleaving to our wife, which is the law, Yah's law, statutes, orders, judgments, commandments, and precepts. Then Yah being our husband, now what is a husband supposed to do? Nothing of the wife, of the husband's wife, right, shall diminish, right? You see how that works? Reciprocities. We cleave unto the law, we obey the law with all our heart and soul, then Yah feeds us. He houses us. He clothes us, right? He said he'll hold our hand, right? He won't let the water overwhelm us, right? He won't let the heat, you know, destroy us. You know what I mean? You follow me? Just like Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. The fire, the flame did not have any effect on them when they were thrown into the furnace, because that's the faith they had in Yah. They were willing to die, literally, right? Rather than to serve the heathen, rather than to bow down to idols and images and acknowledge idols and images, wickedness, iniquity, right? And so Yah anointed himself on them, right? Magnified himself, just like he's doing with those of us who refuse to be turned around, who don't get discombobulated, who will stay focused on Yah. You follow me? Magnifying Yah in our words, in our deeds, actions, right? In the way in which we walk. Anything else? Okay, Israelite 007, you said, can I explain that what animal is being eaten and also what type of milk is being used in Genesis 18:8? Again, that must be Abraham, right? Okay, and it says, Abraham, verse 7, ran unto the herd and fetched a calf, tender and good. You hear that? A calf. So that sounds like a steer, a young steer, right? Tender and good, and gave it unto a young man, and he hasted to dress it. And he took butter and milk, but the milk is not of the calf. We know Abraham was all about the law, so he's got the milk, right? As Proverbs chapter 27, right? Deuteronomy chapter 32, the milk of sheep, right? The milk of goats, right? But now the butter was the butter of kine, K-I-N-E, like it says in Deuteronomy 32. You can eat the butter because the butter's been churned. You follow me? And the calf, there it is again in verse 8, right? Which he had dressed and set it before them, talking about the three angels, because it was three angels. And he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. Right? Because one angel stayed there with him and told him and Sarah, what Yah was getting ready to do. The other two angels went on towards Sodom and Gomorrah. Right? So, it's real plain and evident there. Again, as I've said in the past, you can't hang your hat on one verse or one chapter. That's why it's so imperative, right? Which is the new covenant, 31:31 Yeremiah, right? Everybody got to read this time. And you got to read the whole book. You can't skip around. You got to read the whole book at least one time all the way through. Then you can come back and go where you want to go. Because eventually you're going to go all over the book again. At different times. You're going to go into this area, that area at some point. Right? But because you've read the whole book at least once, right? Now you've kind of got a grasp of the book. Now you go back and you go over this, you go over that, you go over this, you go over that. And as Yah has done with this movement, definitely with me, and I'm sure all of you, over a period of time, he's giving you more and more and more illumination of what you're reading, a better comprehension, where you're able to see, okay, different places in more depth than you did initially. Okay, that's why, again, Yaakov and Hadassah, they went into certain areas that I hadn't been going into. As I said in the past, in the back, I didn't really deal with what the priest and all that was doing. You know what I'm saying? Because I didn't look at it. I was a priest, and plus, that's not what Yah paramounted to me. But now, over the last couple of years, I look more at that. I don't see myself as a priest, right? Yah said, but you got to know this. You got to know this too, right? But the deal is, and I said to all of you in the past, right? I know everything that the priest and the Levites need to know is not in this book, because Esau don't operate that way. And that's why, again, I know, like we see in Yoel chapter 2, when we get back, when the Jerusalem movement is brought back, Yah is he's got to tell us who the high priest is, who the priesthood is, who the Levites are, who Zebulun is, who's Naphtali, who's Yehudah, who's Benjamin, who's Reuben, right? He's got to tell us everybody in what tribe they are. He's got to school those, once he tells, the high priest and the priesthood and the Levite, he got to school them. Whatever's missing in this book, he gonna fill that in. You follow me? He's gonna do that. See? He's got to do that. Because this is not any guesswork. But now we read and we study and we dissemble, we discern, right? You follow what I'm saying? Just like what, you know, what we brought out in this session about it can't be where, you know, chapter 6 Exodus, right? Where Aharon and Moshe's father married his father's sister. That's incest. You follow me? Just like Esau's got in the book that Abraham and Sarah had the same father. You know, that's how it's written. Like they had the same father. We know that's not the truth. That would be incest. So Yah's let us see in the past, and we've talked about this, they had the same grandfather. But their fathers were brothers, which makes them what? Cousins. And that's okay. You follow me? Cousins can marry. That's the same. That's what we see with Jacob, right? And Raquel, you know, well, you know, Leah, he wanted Raquel, but Leah, they were his cousins. You see? That's okay. You know, just like, again, with Yehudah supposedly taking his son's wife, you know, and having 2 children by her. That's incest. Because that's over there in Leviticus 18. You understand? You cannot take your son's wife to wife. You know, the father can't take his son's wife to wife. He can't have intercourse with her. That's like having intercourse with his son. That's perversion. Right? That's sodomy. Isn't that what we constantly see going on around us in this society? LGBTQ. They might have added some more letters now. I don't know. They always add some letters to it, right? That's what this society promulgates, and you know, European societies, right? Still, you know, promulgate all of this incestuous garbage, right? That's Esau, you know, trying to get us, you know, polluted, adulterated, convoluted, you know, where see, because the illuminated Edomites understand when you're doing something to block the illumination, to block the spirit of Yah, right? They understand that. Okay, and even though Yah is taking all the wisdom and understanding out of them now, they got the cup of drunkenness in their hand, right? They just doing stuff now, you know, it's just outlandish, and they just revealing, Yah is revealing them more and more and more. And again, like I keep saying, if the descendants of Japheth, you know, Europeans per se, and other peoples of the world, if they really understood, which some of them do, I'm sure do, but, you know, definitely the monarchies now, definitely after they got the flyer back, you know, 18 years ago, you know, it'd be 18 years in September, right? Yah has prepared them. He's brought them up to speed. That's why they had to be sprinkled. But now a lot of other people, like I said, like Jerusalem, he doesn't understand that these is Edomites. Okay? He doesn't understand that the New Testament was conceived of and put forth by the illuminated Edomite, these same Jews that, or matter of fact, these same people that he say are not Jews, right? They Ashkenaz. They ain't really Jews. See, that's why, you know, when he hears that they're Nazis, he can go along with that. You know, he think he know who they are, but these Nazis over in the Ukraine is really Edomites. Like Zelensky, he's an Edomite. You know, they say that Zelensky, the Edomite president of the Ukraine, they say he worth about $120 million. Right? They pay their puppets. Okay? I mean, you know, look at Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton. Look at Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. They pay their puppets. Okay? You follow me? So, you know, This is what we're looking at, right? And it's just to understand it for what it truly is, right? That's why they don't want you to get the alternative view. See? But again, those of you who plug into Yah righteousness, you see what Yah's bringing through his movement for his holy name's sake. Okay, that's why I said those of us who truly plugged into Yah, we're not in a frenzy. We're not afraid. We just want peace. we want the way of Yah to come on, to be established in Jerusalem, so we can leave up out of here and wherever else we are, in the Congo, in Europe, right, in Asia, in South America, where in the islands, Caribbean, wherever Israelites who have sought Yah out, or other people for that matter, like Miatira over in Romania. Okay, yeah, she's plugged in. Now, again, quite naturally, we're going to have other people of other nationalities cleaving to the arm of Yah. And when I say that, I mean just that. They're going to be cleaving to the law, just like we cleaving to the law, which makes us cleaving to Yah, our Creator. And Yah going to bring them back, you understand, with him. Okay? You follow me? And they're going to be very, very happy, to be, it's close, and they will become servants to Yah and our servants, right? When we get to the land, and we're going to treat them, you understand, like, our forefathers when they had servants in the past when they were upright. In other words, kind of like, like what how Artaxerxes treated Nehemiah to a great extent. They're going to be friends. We're going to care about our servants, right? You understand what I'm saying? So, again, that's what Yah's preparing us for. We don't hate nobody. We're not into any prejudice and bias. You follow me? We're not into any oppressive thoughts, how we going to deal with people of a different nationality or different pigmentation. We're not into that. We understand all of that. Just like in that May 2020, what Yada was playing. Now, those who listened to it, you heard me say again before, Yah allowed me to illuminate to what Jacob and YHWH brought to me. And as I said, when I talked about this, YHWH was always uneasy about Yah taking humans for sacrifice. That over there in the 53rd chapter of Yeshaya. And so when she brought it to me and laid it on me, then I could see it, when Yah had me where I could see it. And again, that's Yeremiah chapter 19, isn't it? Yah said he don't take no humans for sacrifice. That never came into his mind. So the deal is, Yah heard me all those years when I was asking him to take all of those souls that of Israel that died in the Middle Passage. Well, that had to happen. That was judgment. Yah had told him what he gonna do to him, just like he's telling now what he gonna do. But you got many people who blow it off, who ain't paying no attention, right? Like I said in that May 2020 session, I remember what, you understand, brother told me, and I mentioned it, right? Back in 2010, he said he called here 2 or 3 times. He stopped calling because I was so adamantly against the New Testament. Then he said he told that Alicia up in Cincinnati, yeah, man, I called that Yah righteousness and talked to the brother. And Alicia told him, said, man, that nigga don't know what he talking about. He don't know what he talking about. Don't waste your time calling him. And so, like I said in that May 2020 session, where's Alicia now? He doesn't even exist, right? Y'all took him out. The worms ate him up, like you see over there in the 51st chapter of Yeshaya. The revilers, right? Worms ate him up. Prostate cancer, huh? Right? Like the moth eats wool, so the worm eats up the revilers, right? So, but y'all did hear me when I was praying, even though, I was asking him to take their souls in an offering for sin. He doesn't do that. That was judgment. But what he did do, he did hear me, because again, that's Psalm 34, is it not? Yah is nigh, near the brokenhearted and the contrite spirit. Again, just like we see in the 57th chapter of Yeshaya, to revive the spirit of the humble and the heart of the contrite. Now that's the real understanding of that. You follow me? Because again, I definitely humble and contrite. You know what I'm saying? Because as some have expressed to me, they want this to end. Okay? And again, I can understand that, because they don't want it to end no more than I do. As I've said in the past, I know it's people out there, Israelites, Hamites, Shemites, Yephites, that they're about Yah just like I am, but it ain't nobody out there more about Yah than I am. Because I'm totally committed and submitted. Simple as that. I want to do everything that Yah wants me to do to establish his way. I want to do just what Yah wants done, just the way he wants it done, not to add nor diminish therefrom. So anybody else got anything you want to talk about? Okay, what's that there?
They left out the wrong news.
Oh, okay. Okay, which one? The near peace, bro. And Yah bless you and your household as well. According to the old United Nations flat earth pic, that speck of ice sitting in the middle, have you ever heard anything of the sort, that the North Pole is supposed to be the Garden of Eden, navel of the earth? Well, now I haven't seen that, but they're just coming out with all kind of nonsense now. The brother that I was on the phone with last night, he said, I know, I've heard you say that the land is matter of fact, he said, I heard you say that Africa is really Eden. I said, it is. And the land of Yisrael is eastward in Eden. It's the garden. So I don't put anything past the Edomites now, because it was Yaakov and Yadasa that told me that they had changed the UN symbol, which actually showed you the actual depiction of the Earth's layout. And they the one that told me, what was it, a couple years or so ago, that they had changed it. You know what I mean? And I was like, really? And then when Yada brought it up, we looked, I said, yeah, they sure did. They turned it so far, because on the original, Australia was like at 11 o'clock. I think now Australia is like at 2 o'clock. You know what I'm saying? Because they know we hip to it. You understand? Because another brother, I was talking to just here the other day, he's been calling for some years, and like I said before, the brother, he's been playing with himself, because as long as he's been calling, if he had totally committed and submitted long ago, he'd be a lot further than he is now. But hopefully, he'll eventually make it. I don't see him coming back with Yah, but he possibly will make it in the second and last gathering, right? But because he would have seen more without a doubt, all the way around by then, But the point being is, we were talking, and I pointed out to him, how they, every now and then you'll see an article where they will say greenhouse gases. Well, again, I said it in the past, right? A greenhouse, most everybody's seen one live, or they've seen one, in a book or on the tube or something, right? A greenhouse has got a glass top on it, you know what I mean? Where the sun can come through, right? And that's the same thing what we see in the book, right? The molten looking glass. Y'all's looking down through the molten looking glass, because the brother said, where is that, Yehuda? I said, that's in the 37th chapter. Yo, that's Elihu, the young brother talking, right? And again, you know, they don't really use that terminology, greenhouse gases, because that automatically lets you know it's a dome over the top of the earth. That's why we've got all of this ice melting and warming, right? The earth is a higher Celsius than it's ever been, right? I just showed all of you in this session an article where they said now the earth is moving to be toward being unlivable because of the pollution, right? All the toxic gases trapped in the greenhouse effect up under the dome, right? And these toxic gases can only be released by Yah, and because it's Yah is the only one can open up the windows to the dome. And we can see in Yeshaya chapter 24, that's when he gonna open up the windows to the dome again, like he did back there in Genesis, right? When he let all the water in and flooded the earth out. But he's never gonna do that again. That's why we got the rainbow, right? See? So the next time, like I said in the past, a few months back, like James Baldwin in his book, The Fire Next Time, okay? Even though James Baldwin was a homosexual, and more likely, I'm pretty sure he was a Christian, right? He didn't truly understand, but he knew that part is supposed to be fire next time and not water, right? But it's going to be a nuclear war. It's coming, all right? That's the fire. That's when Yah's going to open up the windows to the dome, Yeshaya chapter 24, and let all of this toxic gases and whatnot out. Simple as that. Burn it off. And with that will be the destruction of this daughter of Babylon. Because that's what I was saying to the brother the other day. You understand? You know, Babylon going to be destroyed, the daughter of Babylon, in one 24-hour period. There's nothing that's going to be left here but alligators, crocodiles, hoot owls, vultures, cameron, right? The birds of prey. That's it. This is going to be destroyed utterly. As it says, let nothing of her be left. So, you know, the second and last gathering is people's last chance to get out of here. I mean, I would think, you know, some could get out over the next the next 2 years anyway, before you know, the actual nuclear war takes place. This country's going to start it. But I would think by that time, the people who are going to stay here are going to remain here. The people who don't leave out of here, you know, prior to the second and last gathering, they pretty much love this. They going to stay here, just like Solomon and Gomorrah. Okay, peace, Benaiah and Zakiah. You said it was brought to Zakiah's attention that apple cider vinegars are fermented with yeast. After doing some research, it appears that some brands with the bulb or the mother at the bottom of the apple cider glass jar have been cultivated with brewer or bread yeast. Also, Sri Lanka and Peru's currency has collapsed. Oh, well, again, we're going to see a lot more fiat currencies collapse as the dollar, king of currencies at one time, as it collapsed, it's bringing down basically all these fiat currencies that are not backed by gold or silver. And it's looking like, you know, Russia and India and China, you know, they're going to back theirs with so much gold and keep their possibly currencies, you know, up and running, right? They'll be the currencies desired. Because none of them really want to be the world currency. They just want to be part of a basket of currencies, you know. Now, as far as the yeast in the apple cider vinegar, I didn't know that. But at the same time, we were talking about this a few weeks ago, you know, as far as wine, you know, it has yeast in it. But again, I think I've said this in the past. You know, we're going to have wine in the land, and I just don't in my mind, I just don't look at wine. You know, you throw out wine, you know, because it was you know, made with yeast, fermented with yeast. Uh, because in my, you know, in my thoughts, I would think that they would have, you know, made a lot of wine at different times, stored up in the land, right? So I'm not just real clear on that, but I just don't see that being used. I look at when it says, you know, soda, yeast, and things of foodstuffs to make it rise. Now, I've been told, you know, again that, uh, you know, like, what is it? Certain things that have yeast in it can make stuff rise like that. Liquids, I guess. I don't know about cider vinegar because I never heard it. I never used it. You know, I do a little cooking. Like I said, I'm not, you know, a top chef or anything like that. But you know, I've done a lot of cooking and baking in my years, and I never saw where vinegar was used to make anything rise. I mean, because from what I understand, you know, you can just let things sit a certain, you know, sit, and it's like yeast in the air, kind of. It'll make stuff rise on its own. I mean, YHWH has told me some things like that because she does a lot of cooking, you know, and whatnot. But I don't know. I just don't see that, you know, you would possibly throw away the wine or the apple cider vinegar. Okay, so I'm not just certain about that. Okay, so you know, you look at it, you discern it with your heart, and you know, you pray about it and see what Yah leads you to do. You know, because again, in my mind, we're not going to, like I said just a minute ago, we're going to get a lot of things cleared up. You know, that's not clear right now. You know, different things that's not exactly just really clear. But Yah's got to clear them up when we get home. So we'll see. You know, I know we've had apple cider vinegar here in the house in recognition of Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread. We've had wine in the house at the recognition of Feast of Unleavened Bread. Now, I have gotten rid of the beer because I know they use beer to cook with to make stuff rise per se. See, and really, we're not beer drinkers anyway. You know, if you know, we just not beer drinkers. Okay. And I mean, we're really not even really, I mean, we drink wine at times, but it's not, you know, sometimes we might go a couple of weeks that don't drink any wine. You know what I mean? We just not really drinkers like that. Right. So I don't know. So you pray about it, and, you know, see what Yah brings to you. What's next? Anybody? You know, so I tell you, it's like it says in Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 7. It's a, you know, alas, that day is great. It's even the time, as I said in the past, it's even the time of Zion's trouble, but they're gonna be saved out of it, right? You know, the first vision Daniel got up there, and when you get to chapter 12, a time of trouble never been since it's been a nation, right? But all of us who are totally committed and submitted to Yah, you know, he's going to protect us, shield us, and bring us through. All of those who are the children of Israel who awakened to the fact they're Israel, but not totally committed and submitted to Yah, who don't show an unequivocal faith in Yah, living in that faith, then they've awakened to shame and everlasting contempt. And this is what we're bearing witness to, and this is what we're going to bear witness to, those of us, you know, on both sides of the coin, right? As I said to the brother last night, we were talking at a certain part of the conversation, I mentioned to him, Amos 9, 9, and 9, 10. Yah is preparing us, and those of us who are totally committed and submitted, he's going to sift us away like corn in a sieve. Not the least grain shall fall upon the earth. But all the sinners of his people who say, like that Alicia, told the brother, don't listen to that nigga. He don't know what he talking about. And then as I just pointed out, and as I pointed out in the past, where's Alicia today? The worms ate him up, right? Prostate cancer. As I said to the brother, where's Ben-Ami? Ben-Ami said he was the messenger of Yah. He was the Messiah, right? You got people still worshiping him, right? 48th chapter, Yeshaya, the first 10 verses, right? Those brothers and sisters over there in the Demona movement, as I call it, as Yah calls them, Sodom and her daughters in Ezekiel 16, they still worshiping Ben-Ami today. As it says in Yeshaya 48, the first 10 verses, right? That's why Yah did not allow them to understand. That's why he didn't open up their ear, lest they would say their idol, their graven image had done it. Ben-Ami. Like I said in the past, they call him the father, right? Where is Ben-Ami? He's no longer on the face of the earth either. Yah took him out back then in 2015, right? You've got others who awakened to the fact they were Israel, said they were about the Creator, no longer in existence, no longer on the face of the earth. You've got some who are, plugged into this movement, and they peeled away. Y'all peeled them away, and they left on their own accord. Some of them are over around the land in Egypt or whatever, running around over in the land trying to, I guess, dodge the Edomites, keep from getting put out. You've got those here in America used to be around this movement, left on their own accord, right? So again, that purging process is ongoing. As I said to some here this past week, I've been watching people get purged off this path for years. Okay, this brother that that I studied with for some years, his nephew's in the room right now. And he told me he's in a nursing home, can't walk, in a wheelchair. But when I met him, he told me he was about the Creator. And I learned some things through him. I mentioned the other brother, Ben. He's no longer on the face of the earth. He told me he was about the Creator. He had been to the land, spent about 14 months in the land, came back. He's the one that set up the 5th dynasty in the national Jerusalem. And he's no longer here. Transition. And totally fell off the path, totally. So, those who have left this movement recently, or in the past, like I said, I've seen this already in the past. I'm acquainted with this. Like I said, the brother earlier this week, he like Yudah. He went to tell me, we've been talking now about, I don't know, about 3 years maybe. He went to tell me, Yudah, I'm about the Creator. I said, bro, I stopped him. He's listening right now too. I stopped him. I said, bro, we passed that. You ain't got to tell me that. We passed that. Cause you telling me that don't mean nothing. See? You understand? If you about the Most High, fine, but you ain't got to try to convince me, because again, it don't matter what people say. I hear what people say, but it don't matter. I'm looking at the bottom line. I'm gonna look around, because listen, as I told all of you, and I'm not being arrogant or presumptuous, I plan on leaving out here, going back with the Most High. I'm doing all I can to make sure I'm there. Okay, and I do, whatever I can to make sure Yada's there, because I care about her greatly. Ain't no doubt about that, right? And I care about all of you out there. You know, I've been disappointed by different ones. I was disappointed when the brother whose uncle, you know, when he fell off the path years ago. I was disappointed then. When Ben left the path, I was disappointed then. So I've been disappointed a lot. But, you know, as I said to all of you in the past, I do my best not to allow myself to get, you know, all wound up into other people. You know, because if I allowed myself to do that, I probably would have fell off the path myself, you know, from disappointment and whatnot, you know. So I guess that's, you know, part of the hardness that Yah has put in my heart to where I could withstand these disappointments. I was just disappointed last year, big time. Somebody was around this movement for 10 years. I thought they were totally committed and submitted until the closer they got to me, and I saw that they weren't. So, you know, I'm going to see some others, you know, fall away. You know, it's another person right now. Like I said earlier, I haven't talked to it be 2 months. You know, they did a little fake out call here this past week. I picked up the phone, they hung up. Okay, you follow me? And so I look at that as a non-call. As I said in the past, people call here, you know, and if I'm not here, they don't leave a message. I might see, you know, on the call ID that they call, but if they don't leave a message, that's a non-call, as far as I'm concerned. You know, sometimes people call, I'm here, I'm busy, I can't answer the phone, and they don't leave a message, that's a non-call. You know, just like, you know, people sometimes they call during the session, and I'm talking about the first time session. But when I do a session for the first time, like today, and it plays, I'm listening to it. You know, and sometimes people call, they want to talk, and I'm like, hey, you know, let me call you back later, or you call back later, because I'm listening to the session. And if you're listening to it, you need to listen to it, because I'm listening to it. You know, because I'm listening to see what I said, how I said it, if I made a mistake, or sometimes I make a mistake. Or I can't remember a certain thing, just like I couldn't remember John Perkins' name when I mentioned the Confessions of an Economic Hitman. I couldn't remember, you know, this Victoria Nuland. I knew she was a neocon, but I couldn't remember PNAC, which is an acronym for Project for a New American Century. She hooked up with that. Like I said, that come out of University of Chicago some years ago. So sometimes, you know, I have so much in my head, and, you know, from Yah, because see, as I said before, you know, Yada could attest to it. I don't write anything down. It's all in my head. It's all in my heart. And Yada asked me about 3 days ago, she said, you know what you're going to talk about? She said, you know what you're going to talk about on the Sabbath? And matter of fact, she asked me before I did the session, the night before I did the session. And I said, you know, yeah, well, you know, I've got, you know, an outline in my mind of because of things that have been happening and things that people have called and said and wanted to talk about or what have you, or we've talked about. And so I you know, that's how I construct it. You know, I let Yah do that. And I pray for that Yah will guide me, direct me, lead me in the way he wants me to go, and say the things he wants me to say, you know, and do. And, you know, I don't want to, you know, I want to do what he wants done just the way he wants it done. That's my prayer. And not to add nor diminish therefrom. So lead me in the way you want me to go. You know, and enhance, you know, your sweet words on my lips, on my tongue, in my heart, and my brain. You know, I just want to do what Yah wants done, just the way he wants it done. So he's doing it by his spirit. So, you know, lead me, guide me, direct me. That's all I want. I want to do what he wants. It's for him. And like I said, you know, in this sessions in the past, you know,
Sessions today, we glory in Yah's glory. Simple as that. I want to see him get all of the praise. The brother that called last night, when he called and I answered the phone, Yah righteousness peace. And he started talking and he said, yeah, bro, I just want to, thank you and thank Yah for what you've been doing. And I said, brother, don't ever put me before Yah, okay? Don't ever put me before Yah. And as I say now, and I'm sure that he's listening too, you understand? I say to all of you, don't ever put anything or anybody before Yah, including yourself. Okay, so thank Yah, and then you want to thank me after that, okay? You understand? I appreciate it. Because like Yacob Nyadasa said to me last week, I was telling Yah that they like, YHWH, we just want to, thank you and let you know how much we appreciate you for what you do. Because they told me, because your job is difficult, okay? And I said, well, I appreciate that. I said, but Yah strengthens me, because again, I'm just getting a little bit of what Moshe got and Aharon got. And again, just go to Ezekiel 16 and look what Yah said when he's talking about Moshe and Aharon. What did he say? When he created YHWHrusalem, and no eye pitied them. No eye pitied them, and especially Moshe. Because like I said, we see Aharon, he fell off a couple of times, right? In the situation with making the idol, when the people, I guess he got in fear of him or something, he made the idol, right? When Moshe was up in the mountain. And then later on in Numbers chapter 12, when he sided up with Miriam against Moshe. You understand? Moshe didn't get no eye pitied him at all. See? And that's what Ezekiel 16 is talking about. And those of you who read the book and really comprehend what you read, you saw that in the book. I mean, because they not only attacked Moshe, they attacked his wife. Because she wasn't an Israelite. Not all the Israelites, but we know Miriam was at the head of that. And it was some other women. And as we see, Aharon sided up with her. And it was probably some other men. So Moshe, he not only got attacked, his wife got attacked. That's why he had to send her back. Right? Because he had a job to do. Right? And then what did he tell, Jethro, when Yah brings us out of Egypt, then you bring them back to me. And Jethro did that. And then it started again. Culminated in Numbers chapter 12, right? So, over the years, Yah just reveals more and more and more. And again, as I said earlier, that's what Yah righteousness is supposed to do, right? The arm of Yah is to break its clods, plow the ground, remove the stumbling blocks and the stones, set up the waymarks that have been taken down, right? That have been turned around in the opposite direction. Set everything up straight, right? And reveal, as I said long ago, to turn all the cards up, straight up, so everybody can see all the cards in the deck so that they can make a true decision. That's what we do. That's why I'm always talking about Esau, the Edomites. Because they have taken down the waymarks. They have set the stumbling blocks in the way of not only Yisrael, but the people of the earth. That's why they're going to be known as the people whom Yah has indignation against forever. Because they're trying to not only cut off Israel from Yah, but the whole earth from their creator, Yah righteousness the King, the founder of living water, spirit and creator of all things. Like I said in this session, how do you get 2 or 3 out of I and me? Explain that to me. We constantly read in the book where Yah is talking, he says I, he says me. How you get 2 and 3 out of I and me? So like, we talking sometime and YHWH say, she said, you know, people are reading, but they ain't comprehending what they read. Okay? But that's happened to all of us. It's even happened to her. But I understand her passion, what she's saying. See, because again, Yah has been illuminating her and Yaakov, with some great things that they bring to me. See? And that's good. As he's illuminated others that, have brought things to me. Yeah, I don't see everything. And that's good. Something that people, bring things to me and we discuss it. And when, they bring things to me and Yah lets me see it, I acknowledge it. This ain't about me, it's about Yah. Anything else out there before we sign off? All right, YHWH 1955, peace, brother. I hope you and Keturah are well. Operation Fishbowl was a series of high-altitude nuclear tests in 1962 that were carried out by the United States as a part of the larger Operation Dominic nuclear test program. They were trying to crack the dome. Yeah, we've talked about that in the past, right? That's how stupid they are, okay? You understand what I mean? Because think about it. They know Yah exists, right? So now here they are trying to crack the dome. They know the dome exists. So here they are trying to crack the dome. Think about it. They don't know what's going to happen if they were able to crack it. Huh? If they were able to crack it, for those of you...
With nuclear.
Yeah, with a nuclear bomb. Now check this out. For those of you who saw, what's the name of that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger? I can't think of the name of it. Now it was on not too long ago, but I didn't watch it. But they are on the planet, right? And it had to be this certain thing that was running to keep them from being sucked off the planet. I can't think of the name of it, right? But Total Recall, right on over there. Okay, Total Recall. Now you understand? Because I only saw it one time, but I remember it something happened and people was getting sucked off the planet. Now, what make them think if they crack the dome that won't happen? That's how stupid they are. You understand what I'm saying? Now, quite naturally, they couldn't crack the dome. Y'all ain't gonna allow that, right? But that's how stupid these Edomites are, and any and everybody who's with them. I don't care who it is. If you went to Esau, you ain't got a brain cell in your head. Okay, Yah's my power. You say, is that why Aharon died on the mountain punishment for taking sides with Miriam? Well, again, he couldn't go over, because again, he was with Moshe at the waters of Meribah Kadesh, right? When they didn't exalt Yah. But like I said, we see the other two times, the first egregious thing Aharon did, and he knew the law, and Yah had spoke to him, just like he spoke to Moshe, because it was Yah that told Aharon to go looking. You understand, for Moshe, right? And then you'll see in Exodus, right? Aharon was up in the mountain and Yah talked to him too. You did? But then when Moshe was called up into the mountain for them 40 days and 40 nights, after so long, the people, told Aharon to make them an idol, to make them a strong one. And he did that, right? We spoke about this in the past, right? And when Moshe came down and looked at Aharon, like, what have you done? He said, well, you know how the people are. He said, so I told them to give me they jewelry, and I put this in the fire, and this jumped out. This jumped out, right? But he fashioned it. He made an idol. You did? So that show you he wasn't as strong. That's why he wasn't called Moshe was. Simple as that, right? And we can see that, right? Just like we talked about Yahosef, right? When Yisrael transitioned, they came back, the brothers approached him again. He like, hey, I'm not mad at you. This is from Yah. Everything's good. But now, 13 years later, basically, and I ain't going to say all the brothers, because Yaakov and YHWH and I, we were talking, and we can see, and I'm pretty sure I said this here maybe a few months back, we can see where Lawai had to be totally contrite about what he had done to Yahuseh, right? And we do see in Genesis chapter 49 what Yisrael said, right? Before he transitioned, he blessed all them boys according to their character, per se, right? What they had exhibited, right? And what did he say about Simeon and Levi? Divide them in Israel. And isn't this what Yah did? Right? Because what Jacob and YHWH had brought to me is that evidently, the way it looks, Levi was following Simeon, his older brother, right? Because they was born under this real, when their mother, when Leah was really depressed, right? Because she, even though, as we, said in the past, even though Jacob, he hated Leah, he didn't want Leah, he wanted Raquel, right? He was having intercourse with her. She was his wife right here and had intercourse with her first. So he was having intercourse with her and she became, Yah impregnated her with Reuben. Well, when she was carrying Reuben, she didn't have this depressed feelings. She had, but not real profound, because she had hope. Because what does it say in the book? She said, when I bear him this son, he gonna be joined to me because I'm gonna bear him a son. You understand what I mean? When she bore him, she said, now he gonna be joined to me. She had hope. But when that didn't happen after the birth of Reuben, now she really became depressed over the next few years, right? When she bore Simeon, when she bore Levi. See, so Levi and Simeon were more like joined, but Simeon was the leader, right? Levi was like following him. That's why Yisrael said, divide them in Yisrael. And so the way it looks, because of Yah calling Moshe and Aharon, and they both were out of Levi, we look at that as, because when they brought it to me, I was in agreement with them. Yeah, it looks like Levi was really contrite about what, his part in what, they did to Yahuseh. He was really contrite. Again, Psalm chapter 34, right? What Dawid wrote about how Yah is not the brokenhearted and the contrite spirit. Right? Again, 57 Yeshaya, to revive the spirit of the humble and the heart of the contrite. So this is why we can see Moshe and Aharon come out of Levi. You see what I'm saying? So we can basically, take from that Levi, he more or less probably was about Yah all the way till he died. Right? But it was the other brothers to a great degree, and possibly some of Levi's, his children out of him that got more into the ways of the Egyptians, not necessarily him. We know more likely than not, Yahuseh's house was about Yah, basically, right? He was about Yah till he died. And again, we can see that in the book. What did he tell? His relatives and his house before he died. Yah surely gonna bring you up. And so that makes me think, and again, you call me YHWH, we've talked about this. Yes, and I said it to Yada, yes, that he had to know, you follow what I'm saying, the vision that Yah had given Abraham. Now, I don't know about the rest, but he had to know that. And he kept that in his heart, because he evidently knew they were going to do 400 years in this land where they were going to be afflicted. And more likely than not, he saw it. This is the land. When he saw them, because I told the brother last night, because he was thinking that the affliction didn't start till after Yahuseh died. I'm like, no, the affliction started when they started going away from Yah. Yahuseh was alive. But it don't make no difference, you understand, because Yahuseh was about Yah and he was over Egypt, only answerable to Pharaoh. And again, this was the third Pharaoh when the affliction began. This ain't the first one. This is the third one from what we can deduce. You did? And it was that one that, because again, Israel had been prospered, as we see at the front of Exodus, don't we? Israel was mighty, not so much in population, in reproduction. They was mighty in wealth, because everything was coming in. Wasn't nothing going out. Yahuseh was giving them everything that they needed, right? And they were shepherds. As I said in the past, they had cattle, they had sheep, they had goats. All right. You understand? They selling leather, sheepskin. You understand? Sheep leather. We know today that stuff's real expensive, right? They were selling lamb chops and steaks and filet mignon and roast. to the Egyptians and whoever else was down there. You understand, in Egypt. So they was making money. Everything was coming in, wasn't nothing going out. So they became very, very wealthy. But again, with that wealth, just like what we see again in Deuteronomy 17, right? The governor, he's not supposed to multiply silver and gold to himself. I mean, and when we look at that, look at Tyre. Because the brother and I last night, we talked about that. He brought that up. We talked about that. You understand? Because he really was, he brought some things he wanted to talk about, which we did. One of the things was 68th verse in the 28th chapter of Deuteronomy. You know what that was really saying. And then last night, that was one of the last things we talked about there. And y'all let him see. He said, okay. Because he was like, well, this is this. I said, you understand? He said, what was this that they were never supposed to see again? I said, the land. The land. Because again, when Esau put the bounty, right, on the descendants of YHWH, Benjamin, and Levi. Benjamin ain't mentioned, but we know he was given to with YHWH, right? And so now Esau, you understand, the 10 tribes was gone. The remainder of them who was in the land, they still had left Yah. That, as I said to the brother last night, and I've said to all of you in the past, that should remember chapter 3, verse 7, isn't it? Yah said he beckoned to them, they never came back to him. But then he said in the next line, he said YHWH was faithful, with him, but he still had a harvest set for YHWH because he knew YHWH was eventually going to go astray too, right? But we still see at that time of Ptolemy Soter, right? And Esau, when the handful of Amalekite Edomites became illuminated to a great extent, but not totally, because they still did not look at Daniel as a prophet. He wasn't standing in his lot yet, right? So now here's Esau in Amos chapter 1. He put the bounty on any descendants of YHWH, Benjamin, and of Jerusalem who was still talking about they was Israel, still talking about Yah in some shape, form, or fashion, right? And he put the bounty out in all those nations that you see talked about in the 83rd chapter of Psalms, right? All the way up to Assyria, right? And any Israelite of descendants of YHWH, right? Of Benjamin, of Jerusalem, that was in any of these nations, talking about they was Israel, talking about Yah in any shape, form, or fashion, they gathered them up and sold them to the Edomites. Isn't that what it tells us in Amos chapter 1? And then in turn, Esau sold us to the Grecians, Joel chapter 3. You got to remember, Esau wrote himself out of Joel chapter 3. Okay? He wrote himself out of that. But he's the one that sold us to Ptolemy Soter, the Grecians. And then it was the Tyrians, right, who supplied the ships. I talked about this in the past, right? You understand, in what was it, I think it was in the J.C. Myth series, 4 parts. I talked about that in there. But again, the Tyrians supplied the ships. They loaded descendants out of Jerusalem, YHWH, Benjamin on them ships, sailed across the back of that basin over to Alexandria, Egypt. And then Ptolemy Soter, the Grecians, tried to auction us off. But the Egyptians was like, and whoever else was over there, ain't buying none of them Israelites. Because they was afraid of Yah. They knew about Yah. They're like, that Yah dropped drama you. I ain't buying none of them. You understand? So then what happened? Esau, he told Ptolemy, because Ptolemy, like, you said, told me I could sell. He said, look, I'll buy them back from you. We were sold to our enemies as bondmen and bondwomen. Why? Because none of them people over there in Egypt would buy us. So the Edomites brought us back from Ptolemy Soter the Grecian. Because Esau's thing was what? They're not going back over there. Okay? See? And that's understandable, right? Because when you look at the 137th Psalm, right at the bottom, the writer of the 137th Psalm, and this happened in 586 BCE when Yah brought Nebuchadnezzar and the Chaldeans and the Moabites and the Ammonites and the Edomites came up with him at that time. That's what I just mentioned earlier, right? When you look at 49:19 Yaremia, when you look at 50:44 Yaremia, what does it say? They shall come from the swelling of Jordan like a lion to where? To the habitation of the strong. The strong one. Yah. See? But now when you look at the 137th Psalm, what does it say at the bottom? Because this happened at the same time when this happened, right? What did the writer say? Yah, don't forget Edom, who said what? Raise it to the foundation there. That's the temple. Nebuchadnezzar and them came and burnt the temple down. But that wasn't enough for the Edomites. The Edomites raised it to the foundation. They didn't want any remembrance of Yah in the land or in the earth. And this is the same reason why they put the bounty on descendants of Jerusalem, YHWH, Benjamin. They talking about Yah any kind of way, talking about their Israel. We, sell them to us, round them up and sell them to us. We give you a bounty on them, and then they, you understand? All right, take them out of here and auction them off. Nobody would buy, so they bought us back from the Grecians, Ptolemy Soda, and then they took us deeper into Eden, what today is called Africa. And the brother last night, he said, so where'd they take them? I said, when you look at a map, I said, you seen Niger, Niger? He said, yeah. He said, I heard you talk about that before. He said, yeah. I said, yeah, they took them to Niger, and then after maybe a generation or two, they became known as what? Nigers, which turned into what? Nigger. That's why we still using that term today, nigger. Because that's the link up to where we really lost our identity. Because by when you get to one, and again, this was what? 322, 321, 320 BCE. Right? By the time you get to 104 BCE, you didn't have an Israelite on this earth that knew they was Israel anymore. That's when the 2 days or 2,000 years, Hosea 6 began. Which ended, what? 1896. Again, we talked about that last night. The first vision Daniel got, right? That's Gabriel standing on the water, 1136 to 1210 Daniel. That's Gabriel, who he saw at the first, talking. See, this is the first vision Daniel got, which he alludes to in chapter 8, Daniel, the man that he saw at the beginning, right? That's Gabriel was sent to him in chapter 8, Daniel. In chapter 9, what's that, verse 17, Daniel? He said the man that, came to him at the beginning, or at the beginning. You understand? It's talking about Gabriel in both 2 chapters. And that's Gabriel in the first vision Daniel got, 1136 to 1210 Daniel. That's Gabriel standing on the water talking. An angel on each side of the bank of the river. Daniel standing on one of the banks of the river. He listening to this exchange. Right? And what did Gabriel say? When one of the angels asked him, how long is it going to be, until the end of all it? And what did he lifted up his arms toward Yah, toward heaven, and swore by Yah, who lives forever, a time and a half, 2,500 years. This is 604 BCE, before he got the vision and the interpretation of Nebuchadnezzar's dream. So this is 604 BCE. And as I said to the brother last night, and I said to all you in the past, think about it. If Daniel had never had a vision, when the captain of the guard came and said, the decree has come down to kill all the wise men. So come on, I got to take you, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and y'all got to be burned up. You know what I mean? Or rather, y'all got to be killed. And Daniel said, why is the decree so hasty? Because, he was in good favor with the captain of the guard. So he said, why is the decree so hasty? He said, take me in, let me talk to the king. And so the captain of the guard took him in by himself. And he said, listen, give me and my companions some time. We'll show you the dream and the interpretation. So as I said in the past, Nebuchadnezzar said, okay, you got to in the morning, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, or noon. You understand? You better know it. And then he went back, and that night they prayed to Yah. But how could he say this to Nebuchadnezzar if he had never had a vision before? He had that first vision, but he didn't understand it. That's why he didn't understand it. That's the first vision he got. When we look at Daniel chapter 2, when he was shown that vision, he understood it. When we look at Daniel chapter 4, about the image of Nebuchadnezzar, when that was shown to him, he understood it. Nebuchadnezzar thought he didn't understand it because Daniel took about an hour before, because he didn't really want to tell him. You understand what I'm saying? But Daniel said, hey, I understand it, right? Dream ain't, your dream ain't, it's to your enemies. And then Daniel broke it down. He understood that. When you go to Daniel chapter 7, he understood that vision dealing with the 4 dominions of man, right? When you go to chapter 8, the intricacies of definitely of the third dominion of man, the Greek dominion. Daniel understood that. He tell you he understood it. He said when he told some others, they didn't understand it. He didn't tell anybody about the vision in chapter 7, and he tells you that. He understood all of that. See? But that's Esau, isn't it? Took the first vision and put it at the back. Right? And then took the introduction away. Right? You follow me? Like I said to all you in the past, I said to the brother last night, when you look at Daniel chapter 10, verse 1, and you start reading through 10, the angel that was sent to him, the first angel, right? What did he say? I've been sent to you, right? Because you're a man greatly beloved, right? He said, I've been sent to you to make you understand what I'm getting ready to show you. For the vision is for many days. Now, this is 535 BCE, the third year of Cyrus. So as the angel keeps talking, he's telling him, you understand, what has already taken place. That's why I said, when I was talking about the brother, when he went to Daniel chapter 10, talking about Daniel didn't do the Passover, because this was the first month and the 24th day of the month, I said, Daniel's talking about what has already happened. So possibly this has already took place before Passover. He's recounting what has already taken place. You follow me? So now, what did the angel tell Daniel? He's telling him what had happened with Cyrus. And then he said Cyrus withstood him 21 days, 3 weeks, right? Well, that's the 3 weeks that Daniel had been afflicting his soul, is it not? When he said he didn't eat no pleasant bread, he didn't eat, he didn't eat any flesh, drink any wine, and he didn't wash himself for 3 weeks. Well, this has already taken place. You understand what I'm saying? So it's not actually stated there that this was during the time of Passover. You can't say that unless that's just how you want to say it. So you can say I ain't got to acknowledge Passover now. But when we look at our forefathers in the wilderness, Yah specifically tells them on the second year that they had come out of Egypt and they was in the wilderness, he said, hey, recognize that Passover. Isn't that right? So they had to recognize the Passover in the wilderness every year for 40 years. And that's what I pointed out to the brother, right? But when you get back to chapter 10, Daniel, it goes over into chapter 11, right? And then when you get to chapter 11, verse 35, that vision ends. But if you don't know that, you keep on reading. But when you go over into chapter 12 and you get to verse 8 in chapter 12, what does it say? Daniel, what does he tell the angel? Which is really Gabriel in this vision. This is a different vision. But what does he say? My Lord, I don't understand. And what did Gabriel say to him? He said, go thy way, Daniel, for the book is sealed to the time of the end. All right, that's a red flag. All right, you understand? The angel in chapter 10 tells Daniel, I've been sent to you to make you understand. All right, how could it be now? It looks like you get over here to chapter 12, and now the angel's telling him, go thy way, Daniel, for the book is sealed to the time of the end, and Daniel's telling him he don't understand. That's a red flag. Something's amiss there. All right, this is another vision is what it is. Now you got to backtrack to find out where this vision begins, and the first vision that starts in 10:1, Daniel, ends, right? And that vision in 10:1 ends at verse 35. And at verse 36, this is the vision now, the first vision that Daniel got. But the Edomite, the illuminated Edomite, took that introduction to that vision away. We ain't got it. Tried to make it all look like one vision. See? And this is what, again, when I was talking to YHWH here a few weeks ago, and as a matter of fact, I was talking to YHWH. Jacob was at the job. I think he might have been listening on the phone, but she said, when we read this book, we got to be able to comprehend what we read. See, but again, I didn't say this to her, but I know she's probably listening now. She gonna hear this. It's Yah that opens up the ear. Didn't I just say that in regards to the brothers in Demona? The Solomon and her daughter movement? Yeshaya chapter 48, the first 10 verses. What did Yah say in the first 10 verses talking about them? Huh? He said he didn't open up their ear. And why didn't he? He said because they would give credit. If he allowed them to understand, they're going to give credit to Ben me. They idle. That's why he tells you he didn't refine them with silver. Okay? But the Jerusalem movement is being refined with silver. That's why he's purging out the rebels. That's why, again, you understand, the way of Yah is strength, because he's the strong one. And you cannot stay on this path if you're weak-minded. And again, when we look at Jeremiah chapter 50, what constitutes a weak-minded person? A liar. Doesn't it say liars shall dote, D-O-T-E? Look up dote. It means to be weak-minded. That's why we don't lie. We don't lie to Esau. We don't lie to nobody. Because we don't, if you don't want to be weak-minded. Anything? That's it. Okay, Zioniah. Zioniah, peace to, and y'all bless you as well. You said you saw a piece of ice from a shelf and Antarctica broke off the sides. And yeah, I heard about that. I heard about that. You understand what I mean? Again, that's the warming of the earth because of all of the toxic, gas, right? And the gases that are trapped up under the dome. See, again, when we look at all these things and put them in their proper perspective, we know we got to be close to y'all bring, first of all, bringing judgment on them Edomites that's over there in the land of Yisrael, in Jerusalem. We got to be close to him running them out and judging them because the movement of the Most High can't go back until that happens. And then even when that happens, as I said before, we got to wait for Yah to bring these monarchies. That's why they had to be sprinkled. So he could get them up to speed. That's Yeshaya chapter 41. So he could start shaping and molding them for the time to come. Look where William and Kate just went. I touched on it in this session. Look where they just went. They went to Jamaica, didn't they? Talking about they apologized for what their forefathers did in this colonization. But what did I saw the sister over there in Jamaica. I think it was on Democracy Now! She was speaking. She like, hey, we don't need, might have been on the BBC. She like, hey, we don't need no words. We need some deeds. We need some help. We need some economic help here. You understand? Forget the words. What are you prepared to do? All right. But now, see, what they don't understand in Jamaica, see, you got a lot of Jamaicans that know they Israel. You understand? But again, like I was saying to the brother last night, because he brought to me about this Haile Selassie, I'm like, yeah, they all hung up into that. And you got ones over in Ethiopia hung up into that. But that ain't got, they talking about, Solomon had a child by the Queen of Sheba. You know what I mean? But, we don't see that in the book. But nevertheless, that ain't where the movement of the Most High comes out of. It comes out of the midst of the daughter of Babylon. But we were over in Jamaica. I talked to some of them over there. They talking about Jah. They don't even know Yah. And even if they know Yah, they still caught up in Jesus. They still in the New Testament over there. Okay? I was up to like 4 o'clock in the morning talking with this brother that lived over there. He was an entertainer. You understand what I mean? A singer. He entertained us. And when he got through, we got to talking. And you understand? Talked to like 4 o'clock in the morning. And I gave him a card. We talked. But I couldn't purge out that JC out of his mind. You follow me? So you understand my point is the English royalty is not going to do anything really for the Jamaicans. They apologize. That's it. Y'all's getting them ready to put their titty in our mouth. Isn't that what we see in Yeshaya chapter 49? We're going to suck the breast of kings and queens. They're going to be our nursing fathers and nursing mothers. You follow me? That's what he getting them ready for. Cause Will was sent a flyer with his name on it, just like his brother Harry. Just like their father child, just like their grandmother and grandfather. All of them was sent a flyer with their name on it. Okay? See? So again, that had to be done. That was done, like I said, over 17 years ago. Anything else? Okay, Othniel, I see you. You say, okay, Yahushua, let me deal with you. My son was asking about why did the Levites divide his wife into 12 pieces. Well, again, you know, his wife was whorish, right? We see that. And so he cut pieces up and sent them around. Now, when it says 12 pieces, you know, he wouldn't send any to Benjamin, but he sent one, a piece each, to the house of Yahuseh. Remember, it's 13 tribes, right? So he cut up 12 pieces and sent one around to the 12 tribes. He didn't send none to Benjamin. They the ones that raped her to death. It's 13 tribes, right? What's that next one there with Othniel? All right, Othniel, you say random thought about the Leviathan making peace with Yah if it's the Amalekite Edom. Ain't no ifs about that. That are going to fund us leaving out. Well, no, they don't fund us leaving out, Othniel. That ain't what it's saying there. They the ones got to put their John Henry, their John Hancock, you know what I mean? They got to give the okay for us to be taken back. They got the dominion, not the monarchies. That's what that's talking about. Just like Amenophis II. When you look at Amenophis II, he said, yeah, take, you know, he said, leave, you know, take what you want. But, you know, and ask y'all to bless me also. But it ain't really said where he gave them anything. But he had to give the okay for Israel to leave out. Well, that's the same thing with, because he had the dominion. That's the same thing with the illuminated Edomite that's, you know, got the dominion over this country and over the land, right? He got to give the okay. You follow me? But it's the monarchies that actually put the breast in our mouth. They the ones that's coming. Yeshaya chapter 60, Yeshaya 49, right? Right? Daniel chapter 7, verse 13. Doesn't it say they gonna come and you know, is epitomized in the, you know, in that seed of David, the one that comes with the cloud of heaven, but he ain't gonna be by himself. Okay, you say Leviathan making peace with Yah. If it's the Amalekite Edomites that are going to fund us, leaving out the ships of Tarshish first. That the ships of Tarshish over in 66 Othniel, that's the second and last gathering. That ain't the Jerusalem movement. You say, does that make the Edomites also a representative of Tarshish? Well, again, they got dominion over Spain. Tarshish is Spain. They got dominion over Spain. They got the dominion. You follow? What was that Rivka had there? Okay, Rivka, peace and Yah bless to you, sis. You say regarding Governor Solomon's palace of the forest of Lebanon, was it in Lebanon or Jerusalem? Again, that I seem like you said at one time I researched and found ruins in Lebanon attributed to Solomon, but now they are saying it was in Jerusalem, and I can't find any remnants or photos of the ruins in Lebanon online now, but they match the description in 1 Governors chapter 7, 1-8. My feeling is that Esau does not want Israel to think of Lebanon as Israel's. 1 Governors chapter 9:19 confirms for me it was in Lebanon. Okay. You know, I haven't really looked at that, but you very well could be correct about that. And again, Lebanon is part of Israel, okay? That's without question. Like the Gaza's part of Israel, you know. That's all going to be Israel, all the way down to the river of Egypt. As we said before, that's called the Wadi El Arish on some of these maps, all the way up to the Euphrates. Right now, definitely to the Jordan, but it goes on so far on the other side of the Jordan. How far, I don't know. Because that was the 2.5 tribes took their inheritance on the other side of the Jordan, right? So all that's Israel, right? And it very well could, you know, Solomon had so much gold and silver and wealth. You know what I mean? He probably had a house over there by the water. You understand what I'm saying? So I ain't doubting that, you know, because he had his house in Jerusalem, but he probably had a house by the water too. You know, probably by the seashore. The Mediterranean, because he had huge wealth. You know, we know that, right? Which again, you know, goes against what we see in Deuteronomy 17. You follow me? Because we're gonna have much more wealth than Solomon. We're gonna have excess. You know what I'm saying? But again, that's why it won't be any impoverished Israelites. Okay? Won't be any impoverished Israelites. Okay? Because again, the governor is the shepherd, right? And he feeds the people. Not only Israel, but those of other nations who attach themselves to us and become our servants. He feeds them. You follow me? That it? All right. We're going to call it a session. Y'all bless to all of you out there. Stay focused. Read, study, pray, and do. Right? This session will replay next Sabbath. Again, Passover Feast of Unleavened Bread begins Thursday night. And y'all just asking me, is the room going to be open? That's up to her. Yeah, she probably had the room open. But again, you know, just like on the Sabbath nights now, she has it open for about 2 or 3 hours. She plays so much and then she go to bed. I told her, you know, she's trying to play, she turns it off, so we got to get rest. And then she, in the mornings, she'll get up and open up the room again like she did this, you know, this Sabbath morning. She opened it up around 8:30. So the room will be open. We're going to play some things. I don't know yet what we're going to play. We'll talk about that. Y'all bring us something, but read, study, pray, and do. Get yourself prepared for the Sabbath. Get all of the leavening out of the house, per se. Now, as far as the vinegar, what Benaiah and Zakiya brought up, you know, we've had vinegar here. We've had wine here. So that's up to you on how you want to deal with that. But all of the baking soda, all of the yeast, all of the baking powder, all of the breads and stuff like that have been risen, you know, with that in there, get rid of that for sure. All right. We'll yeah, and y'all just getting ready to close down for the night. And again, y'all stay focused out there, read, study, pray, and do. And to be continued. Okay? For y'all righteousness, Jerusalem, and the Holy See, y'all bless everybody. Peace.